We gather in the cosmos bright. Stars and ships take flight tonight. In the void where dreams do play, soul citizens lead the way. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Starry roads in endless skies. Soul citizens we rise. Charting courses never lost. Together the verses crossed. Squadrons call on the horizon. Battles fought, our hearts aren't frightened. In our ships we face the dawn. Soul citizens carry on. Oh, planets spin and light years fly. Boundless space where hopes reside. Brotherhood in every star. Soul citizens, here we are. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Starry roads in endless skies. Soul citizens we rise. Charting courses never lost. Together the verses crossed.
Hello, greetings. Welcome to the Soul Citizens. I am GriffinGamingRPG, and today is Sunday, June the 28th, and we are back the last weekend in June, and we are so happy to be here with you. Sorry for our late delay today. We got a late start, but we're glad to have you guys with us. Hope you all are doing well as we are wrapping up the month of June. And I am joined today with one of our Soul Citizens. We haven't seen him in a little bit, but always happy to have him back with us, the one and the only Captain Jones. How you doing, buddy?
I'm well. How you doing, Griff? How's all my soul friends out there doing? I hope it's a great Sunday.
Doing all right, doing all right. You know, we've got a, I didn't even say this to you before we got started on this show. You know, there is a heat wave that's about to come through the Midwest, and I think it's going to be heading in your direction. Did you guys hear anything about that at all? About heat coming
Yeah,
our way?
yeah, it looks like it's about to get a little toasty. Wouldn't mind if
Yeah.
it stays over there with you, but
Nope,
it's gonna hit
nope.
us sooner or later.
We sending all the love your way. You can have it, brother. I don't want that at all. That is all yours. Yeah, it's folks not looking forward to it. It's not like hot here today. It's like 80s, but the humidity is up, and you can already tell it's coming. So I'm not looking forward to being out this week at all. Yeah, I'm just gonna be trying to avoid that like crazy. Let's see, we just got a couple folks who dropped subs on us. Envoy 70, thank you for that resub. 53 months, 56 months total. Appreciate that. Always happy to have you here with us. And Fast Card, is that you? Yeah, Fast Card resubbed. Awesome. Thank you, Fast Card. Appreciate that. Happy to have you do that. And then also Captain Jones kicked us off with, oh boy, look at this. Everybody did this. Serious Fun resub. Thank you. Thank you. And New Soul. How did I miss all that? I only heard 2 of them. Thank you all for those resubs. You guys are kicking us off right at the beginning of the show. We really appreciate that. Speaking of the beginning of the show, let's get some shout outs. We got Daz89, first one in the house today. Pops in Space, The Prisoner, FC, Vertano. Let's see, who else do we see? New Soul Sounds, the Ex-Chosen One. Attack Cats here as always. Serious Fun's out there. Vaverick, what's up, buddy? My friend in Texas, how you doing, man? We got a lot of folks here today. Looks like all the usuals, the usual suspects, Captain Jones. They're all here with us. Monarchy's out here. You left the Midwest just in time. Yeah, you left just before the crazy heat's coming through here. So just so you'll know. Dirtson, good to see you. Thank you. '07. Happy to have you here with us too. Um, Captain Jones, we got a lot to cover. Lot to cover. You
All
ready?
right, all right.
Just me and you
Let's do
today.
it.
All right, we're
Got
gonna
this.
start kicking this stuff off. I gotta take that off the screen. How have I got that on the screen? Holy smoke. Hang on a second. I got something on the screen that's not supposed to be on the screen. Not supposed to be on the screen. All right, that's gone. That's gone. That's gone. That's gone. Okay. All right, cool. I think that's everything. Yeah, I gotta look at my sheets here. There's so much stuff we were trying to get together before the show. Let me put this here, here, and there. All righty. I think we're ready now. Okay. First thing, Captain Jones, I'm not sure if you saw this or not. Did you see that there was a comment put out by Cloud Imperium CFO this week?
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Okay. If you want to take a peek at it, I'm going to talk about it. Okay, and I'll summarize it. But if you just want to take a glance, because the link is there, FC is going to drop this link in the chat for you guys. This just came out on June 7th, and it was kind of a. There's been a lot of little things that have been happening with Cloud Imperium over the last month or so, I guess. And some of them are things that we're going to be covering today, but especially some things that happened this week. But this was earlier this month when this got dropped, and it was basically the CFO kind of giving a report on the accounting for Cloud Imperium Games. And there had been several content creators and some people who had put out some stuff earlier this year once the financials came out for CIG last year and this year. And one of the things that some people expressed some concern in was that in 2023, they saw that there was a lot of money that went out from the company. There wasn't a lot of profitability. There was money that actually went out. And a lot of it had to do with the fact of them expanding with both the studio and also the acquisition of Turbulent. And of course, all the red flags went up, and the house was on fire for some people. CIG's not making any money. They're hurting. This is the sign of the end or something. But anyway, the CFO put out this comment and basically went over the last year of 2024, not 2025, but 2024. And as you guys know, each year CIG has been doing record-breaking numbers, bringing in even more revenue each year. But it is a very interesting document. If you are interested in that type of thing, some of you guys could care less. So it's like, as long as the company's not falling apart, we're fine. But if you are interested in it, or if you just have some concerns because of maybe some of the other reporting that you heard from the year before, it is easy reading. It's not that difficult to read. It's a little lengthy, but if you just want to get to the summary at the end, you can go there if you want to hear what the summary is, their assessment of the CFO. But I guess my question to you, Captain Jones, is in light of conversation that has been talking about, the possibility of Squadron 42, the progress of the company. Do you think that this is kind of something that's also being put out there to kind of get ready for this thing, to show that the company is, in a good space financially? Is that one of the reasons why we would kind of get something like this? Because I don't ever remember a CFO. I'm not saying that there hasn't been. I just may have forgotten. I just don't remember a CFO comment like in the middle of the year in the past.
Yeah, I can definitely see them being related. You got one camp who is saying Sig is making too much money, wants to hit the billion. Then you got another camp that's talking about, they don't think they have enough money. So I think this is really just to control that narrative and we show where that money is and where it's going, and everything's all right.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I think they're just kind of pieces of the puzzle. I don't think there's any one big thing. I think it's just a little bit of this and a little bit of that CIG is doing, and some of it may be to establish positioning themselves for, the future of the company. Also positioning themselves because of the rumors of what maybe people thought, not just, it doesn't have to be just the fact of what the community thinks, but maybe what people in the industry may be thinking, or just that there's just a general reporting on the health of the community, on the company rather, which I think is good. The financials take a lot to go through. And there were some people who really spent a lot of time going through the financials that year. But from what I read from this, and I looked at the financials too, I saw some reporting that Tomato did. Tomato actually brought a guy in who was an accountant who looked at it, and he gave it a very healthy report. Said that the report looked good. He didn't see any red flags anywhere. So again, if you guys want to check this out on your own time, hey, feel free to do that. I think it'll be just a very interesting read for you. The next item up, this one here. Now, this is, I'm picking your brain here, Cap. And by the way, those of you who are watching, if you guys want to chime in on this, any of the things that you see on the screen, I would love to see what you guys think about some of this stuff. There's been this big conversation about Squadron 42 GTA 6, right? You know, we know that CIG announced 2 years ago that Squadron 42 was scheduled to launch sometime this year. And CIG's marketing throughout the year, everything in relation to the Squadron 42 newsletters and everything has still maintained and put 2026 down. They have not pulled that date. We haven't heard anything otherwise. There was some word amongst the community that there was possibly a delay, but we have not heard CIG say that. We've heard CIG express the fact that they would like to get it out this year. There's been there's no definitive quarter or definitive date that CIG has given, other than what they have published and a couple of interviews that they've had. So, Cap, in light of that, I know you know all that stuff already, so I'm just kind of laying the background for my questions here, okay? First question, because I don't think I've ever had this conversation with you. Do you think that CIG, in light of GTA 6, do you think that CIG, or without, let's say, I almost want to say, okay, I have to base it on GTA 6 because obviously if it's ready to go, we're going to say, sure, drop it. So let's keep it in the context of GTA 6. We know that they've announced, Rockstar has announced a November 19th launch date. Pre-order started just this past week on the 25th. So we know that's scheduled to come out, right? And even though Rockstar hasn't done any marketing, like they haven't dropped any new trailers or anything, the only thing they did drop was their pre-order. So, and the launch date of November 19th. So, Senor Mook, thank you, my friend. Thank you for that sub. Appreciate you. Happy to have you here with us, buddy. What do you think, Cap? Do you think that there's a window for CIG to drop this safely in the year of 2026? Or more than one date, for that matter?
Yeah, I think if they wanted to drop it, they would have wanted to do it, before GTA, just to not bump kids there. And then that window, we was all assuming that window was going to be maybe September at the earliest, but October, especially since, they canceled SitCon, and maybe that was a indicator that's what they were looking towards.
Yeah.
And, everybody was assuming they were waiting to just get confirmation that GTA was actually coming out in November, because it has been pushed back previously. So, this whole time I'm thinking that's the window. I'm not so sure now. I mean, they haven't changed any of the dates on their correspondence, their newsletters and the different things still saying 2026. But from a marketing standpoint, I feel like the time's starting to tick a little bit. There was a few conventions that's come and gone, and they didn't mention anything there, which, was good opportunity and free publicity there. So I'm not totally sure. I mean, you haven't said anything different, so
right.
I assume it's going to be 2026. So I'm just not sure that the window is
it's
as
pretty
open
narrow,
as
right?
it's going to be for now. Starting to shut a little bit. They're not going to want to come out after GTA. They don't want to get into that holiday season. That's going to be pretty much locked down. So if they're going to do something, they got to do it soon.
I'm going to give you a counterpoint, and I agree with 99% of what you said, maybe 98%. I'm like you. I'm liking. Well, okay, this first thing. CIG said they were going to do a short marketing window, and we don't know what short is, right? I mean, short could be a week,
right?
Could be 3 months.
True.
And I think because we're used to companies putting out stuff 6 months, a year ahead of time, kind of dropping breadcrumbs, CIG did make it clear that they were going to do a short run. And even in light of Rockstar, right? I mean, November, we're talking about what? July, August, September, October, November. So we're talking about 5 months away. They still have not dropped a new trailer as of yet, 5 months out. So, and we can assume that they will, probably. So we know that Gamescom is coming up. And that's probably the one big last one that they could hit that would be before that fourth quarter. I think that there's room for them to drop it in October. And I think like if they did it second week in October, right after this event that they're talking about, that it would be good because they'd get 6 weeks in before Rockstar, 5 weeks in before Rockstar. But here's the secondary one I'll give consideration to. If they decide to wait until Christmas. There was somebody I was watching. I don't remember who it was, but it wasn't a Star Citizen backer. But it was somebody who said anybody who gets GTA 6, the people who are really into GTA, when they get it by November 19th, they will have been finished with it by November 30th. Because that's how they play that game. You know what I mean? They go in full bore to play it. And their statement was basically saying, not that it wouldn't have an impact, but by the time you get to like December 10th, December 15th, a month has gone by. The people who are really the diehards who have spent that money on GTA have done it. And they're done at that point, right? They may be replaying, but I mean, all the excitement and the wind has been within that 30-day period. So if CIG decided to do a drop, a Christmas drop or a holiday end of drop, and I think I heard expats say this, there's some benefits to that to a certain degree because people are home, it's the holidays, it's the season, and that might be still a secondary possibility without going into 2027 and allow them to still land in the 2026 window. And it's 5 weeks. It's either 5 weeks before or 5 weeks after. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to pull out a hopium out there, y'all. I'm just saying if it's going to go to 2027, then I'll just mute. But if it is 2026, there is a 5 week window in either the direction. The other thing is that tremendous amount of that is console players, which leads me into my next questions for you, Cap. Because I haven't heard anybody talk about this. So I'm going to claim this first, y'all. If somebody else did talk about it, then that's fine. Okay. What is the possibility that there's actually a console version, literally, not only in the works, but the reason why CIG was hemming and hawing was because if they're dropping a console version, that's what they were worrying about competing with GTA 6, not the PC version.
Yeah. There's
Okay.
been some.
Okay. Before you answer, I'm gonna give you something. I'm gonna give you something to play with. Okay. All right. So y'all check this out. Some of you all may have forgotten about this. All right. But I'm going to run this past y'all and y'all see what y'all think. This was 2 years ago at a Bar Citizen in China. And Sandy Roberts said something. Some of y'all remember this, some of y'all may not. So check it out.
And what about Squadron? People prefer to play that on PC or console?
关于约束到中队，大家想要在更想要在 PC 电脑上面，还是想要更多的在这？
Prefer to play that on PC?
What the fuck did she just say?
跑过去补充了一下，其实大部分的人2次都举了手啊，所以我们全都要。
Okay, we got the message, we got it. And what about Squadron? Do people prefer to play that on PC or console?
What are you
关于
doing?
约束到中队，大家想要在更想要在 PC 电脑上面，还是想要更多的在这个？
Look at Chris. Chris is ready to say something. What is this? He just turned red as the background. I can't even see his face anymore.
主机上的选择呢？
Excellent. That's good to know.
Yeah, everyone's yelling because everyone's going, why the fuck did she just say console? Everybody is probably saying that in there now, that they can't even quiet down because everyone is wondering, why did you even bring up the word console? What the fuck is going on?
Great to see you guys. It's cool. We wish we were there.
To see you guys, it's cool. Wish we were there. Yeah.
Now, let me tell you guys something about that. When Sandy asked that question and the translator repeated it, they didn't boo, they cheered. The people who got a problem with it were the people in the chat and Salty Mike. Now, thank you, by the way, Salty Mike, for that clip, because he's the only person who still had that clip on the internet. I looked for like 2 hours to find that clip, and he was the only person who still had that clip out there. I don't know where the original went. Somebody told him to take it down. I don't know, which is what I think actually happened. I think somebody told him to take that thing down. But here's my point. When they did that in China, those people cheered like crazy for a console version. Now, what happened was when they continued to talk, they said that. Now, I've noticed that Star Citizen people have a kind of attitude of entitlement that they only want this game to be on PC. You know, like it's got to be on PC. I'm talking about Squadron, not the Persistent Universe, right? But it's like, y'all want to see some revenue come in? Let this sucker go on console, and you won't have to worry about paying for Star Citizen. So, Captain Jones, in light of all that, and I know you said you had heard some rumors. You were starting out saying something about you had heard some stuff about this earlier. To these two questions, is there a possibility Squadron could be a console port? And is that what CIG was concerned about? Or do you think they're concerned about a PC launch against a console launch of GTA 6?
Yeah, I do think the console's a possibility. You know, people have been chatting about it. Some people have even looked at who they've been hiring in the past few years and kind of drawing dotted lines to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to this particular launch, I don't think that what was holding them up was the console versus console.
Okay.
Oh, I do think that, you know, it would be smart for them to eventually drop it on console. I mean, that's money that they're missing if they don't.
Yeah, big time.
I'm not sure that they had turnaround time to port it over, just based off the conversations of when we're seeing that happen, unless that was their plan to hold
for old time, right? Back in 2024, that's why it took 2 years. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unless that's their plan the whole time, but they were. I think it's more of the being in the shadow of GTA overall, more so than console versus PC. You know, we talked about the fact that GTA hasn't really advertised, and they will. But they did have a trailer, and even without the trailer, even without a new trailer, it's still GTA. So
yeah,
you know, it's GTA 6. This isn't GTA 1.
Yeah.
I don't think Big has the same luxury of, you know, not getting the name out there that they're missing out on with the different conversations and the conventions that they've been at, because there's a lot of people that still don't know what Squadron is, and the people that have heard about it, they have it mixed up with Star Citizen, and the people that have mixed up with or they don't know, or they think all they know is that it's a company that's made $1 billion, and there's some that's still saying Scam Citizen. So I think they really need to get a hit of the narrative. They can't really play on the rep that Rockstar has. They've made plenty of games, plenty of successful games. Even if they never advertise one time from today till November 19th, they'll be fine. I just don't think they could do that.
Yeah,
I don't think
so either.
Yeah, I do think they're gonna drop a console sooner or later, but I don't think that's really what's holding them up right now.
Okay.
And that short window could be short, but it still feels a little too short for this particular game. It doesn't have the name that other games have. They really can't lean on that notoriety of a rep of having multiple releases and things like that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Rockstar. The question came. Somebody from the board in the board meeting at Rockstar asked, "Oh, we're not doing a marketing campaign?" And the CEO was like, "Yeah, oh no, we are doing a marketing campaign. Don't think that just because it's GTA, we're not putting something out." He made it very clear that they're going to market and put something out. And I agree with you. CIG needs to. The awareness factor is totally different. We're two different worlds. Even if people know about Star Citizen, like you said, they don't know what Squadron 42 is. We have people in our own community who still. With Squadron 42, you know what I mean? So I agree with you 100% on that. I'm just kind of thinking about, the whole polishing period, the amount of time they took, and we know that this had come up before about console, and I know some of us purists out there, it's got to stay on PC. But I tell you this, if this game launches on console, the amount of revenue that will come in from console players will be ridiculous. It will be tremendous amount of money that would flow into this game to be able to support it. So if CIG, I think Colossal said it in the chat, it is smart for CIG to cover all the bases. One of the problems I've had, Captain Jones, with this thought, though, when we talked about this about a year ago, nobody has successfully been able to do this yet. CD Projekt Red tried to do it. You know what I mean? With Cyberpunk.
Right.
Elite Dangerous had to do it with theirs, and it's very difficult. It's extremely difficult to do a very good PC to console port. A lot of times what happens is the PC aspect of it has to be compromised in order for the port, or the port, it looks like some elements of port have been brought into PC. So it's a
Right.
struggle for companies to be able to pull this off, especially a simultaneous launch. Even as you guys know, when GTA does their thing, or Red Dead Redemption, the console comes out, then maybe about 8 months, a year later, their PC version comes out. So I just threw this out as a question. It's about, don't y'all be going back telling people that Griff said that there's going to be a console port dropping at the same time. I just thought it was an interesting conversation to talk about, because it's a possibility. It's not a big one, but if it is, it would explain a whole lot if they were to do something like this. But we haven't seen any indicators other than that conversation when Sandy kind of threw that blood in the water to see what people said. And those people were excited, at least over in Asia. Over here, we may not be that big, but the console players over there were like, hecky, yeah, drop it, drop it, drop it on console too. Okay. That was fun. Saw some of you guys' comments in there. All right. Speaking of Squadron 42, just giving you guys a quick update on this. As you guys know, last week, there were some invitations that were sent out to various folks in the community. My understanding, it's not just content creators, that there were other backers that may have also received. I'm really curious about this, Captain Jones, because I'm curious to see if there are industry people like Linus Tech Talk, or something like that, people like that who are invited to this, or if it's just a community thing, because if it is, I mean, obviously it's a part of marketing in some form. I don't think it's just a thank you to content creators. That's just kind of crazy, especially because it's 3 days, and if it's just for a play test, you don't need 3 days to do a play test. So the fact that they've made this, even CitizenCon is a 2-day event, but they've made this a 3-day event. And, there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of things that they could do, don't know what it is, but I am curious to find out if we find out that there are some game industry folk that also, and maybe they don't need that invitation right now because it's just June. This isn't until October. Maybe we won't find out till maybe August or September or something. But I am curious to know if other folks other than community people, you know what I mean, are going to be invited to something like that. What do you think? Do you think that maybe there'll be those? What's the group that always tests everything? I'm having a brain fart. We always look to them to test stuff. Not Linus, but the other ones. They do. What's the other group, y'all? Y'all know who I'm talking about. No, not Eva Kaddish and Pasta. Industry. The industry folks who do stuff on YouTube. Thank you, Digital Foundry. Thank you, Citizen Joe. Yeah, folks like Digital Foundry, stuff like that, that might get invited to something like this. Do you think like an IGN or something like that would get invited? Or do you think that would, if they did something that was marketing level?
Yeah, I think if we do start to hear groups like IGN getting pulled over to that conversation, and that leads to maybe something bigger happening. So the time is curious. Lines up with what would have been our con, and it lines up with when some of us thought Squadron might be coming out. Yeah. And like you said, it's 3 days, so you're not going to have 3 days for nothing. But it's really hard to say.
It is.
What it's going to be. If that's a launch event, an announcement event, and it's October. We're talking about a short advertising window. That's definitely too short to not bump heads with GTA. So that goes right back to possibly a Christmas drop. I was always thinking, just to keep their promise, they were going to drop it at December 31st, 11:59 anyways. So
Happy New Year, right?
Yeah, Happy New Year. It's still 2026. So, as long as they're making that announcement there in October, they do have October, November. As you said, people do play games. That turnaround's pretty quick. So by the time the end of December rolls around,
people will be looking for the next
a lot
flavor.
of the people will be weeks past waiting for the next thing. I'm not sure that it's still going to work out because a lot of people would have spent their money already because you're already in that Christmas season, but it kind of lines up to that possibility.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really interesting too. And I know this is I know this isn't a GTA show, but it was really interesting to see the responses of folks in the communities when they saw the pricing for GTA. You saw the prices, right? What they were putting the game out
Hmm.
for. Yeah. And some folks they weren't having a problem with the pricing, but they were having a problem with what they got for the pricing. And there was a lot of feeling about the paywall of, yeah, they're saying $80, but it's really $100 if you really want the game, quote unquote, and then
Right.
the folks who got the box, it's just a box with a code, there's nothing else. Did they say that there's like a collectible for that? Like, is there some physical items, or I didn't get a chance to go to the website and look yet.
Collectibles I saw were in game
Is it all, it's
items.
all digital stuff, right? It's all digital
Yeah.
stuff, right?
There could
Okay.
be something extra, but from what I've seen, even the physical copy of the game's gonna be digital, so I can't see them giving you anything physical if they're not gonna give you the game physical. I think
Yeah,
everything's gonna be in game.
I mean, people like that souvenir physical stuff. I'm surprised GTA didn't do that, because people are willing to pay for something tangible. You know what I mean? And
Right.
a box ain't enough. You know what I mean? They want put some car keys to the Lamborghini or something in there. I don't know. I
Yeah,
would
you
think
need
that's what they would
something.
do. Yeah, because I think it's what is it? Is it 79, 99, and one something, right? Isn't it three prices? Does
Yeah,
anybody remember the
they're
price? The
cheap.
third?
They're
But
starting off at 79, which is thinking it's a
that's just
console game
base.
too. That's a console game
Yeah,
that's
for
gonna
a
be that
console game.
price.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, the physical Kixida says the physical disc comes in December. Oh. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for telling me that. That's cool. All right. Okay. Well, anyway, as we hear information, if we hear anything, any updates, any, whatever can be told that they allow the community to know about, we'll be, if we hear it, we'll share it to you guys and let you guys know. But again, that's October, I think, 9th through the 11th. So that's 3 days for that. Okay. Um, Next point. Oh, jump point. We talk about jump point all the time. We kind of just usually announce that, jump point is out and you guys should check it out. But I really want to tell you guys to look at this one. Did you get a chance to look at it yet, Cap? This version?
Because I actually didn't subscribe to this
Okay.
pack,
No, no, no,
so
no,
I
no.
missed
That's
out on
cool.
it.
No, it's very cool, because this particular issue, I think you definitely will find some interest in. What they did, this one, they really focused on the Odin and the M80. And the reason why I think this issue is really cool for those of you who haven't seen it yet or seen it is there was a lot of, like, remember, Cap, a lot of people were wondering how they came up with the designs for these ships. You know what I mean? A lot of people felt that the M80 was just kind of a Kruger ripoff, and people kind of felt that this was Battleship Yamato, right off the bat, right? So check out
Hmm.
some of these images that they show of, like, the different concepts that they came up with. Man, they came up with some scary concepts. Okay, so I mean, this is just kind of a glance at some of them, but look at some of this stuff that they came up with. I mean, this is like for
Wow.
the
Yeah.
Odin. You know what I mean? Um, I don't know what that one on the bottom right is. That thing just looks like somebody just threw something against the wall, and wherever the parts fell, they landed. And I shouldn't say it that way, but
Yeah.
it's just got a lot of stuff on it. Then you've got the one that's like a big blind fortress wing with, it's got like the Star Wars double wing thing going that they use to
Hmm.
drop the droid. I don't know, it's like a lot of variety of ideas that they have here for these ships. Um, that one there in particular, look at the profile on that in the upper left corner, how that looks from the side. They did a lot of different things for the Odin, and I was really surprised to see it went from wide to narrow. The idea of
Yeah,
them
for
coming
sure.
up with this idea of a battle cruiser. So if you guys haven't seen this, you'll for those of you who say, oh, they didn't do a lot of different variations. There's a variation after variation of what they tried to come up with for the battle cruiser before they finally got the final design. Which I'm glad, when I look at these other designs, I ain't got nothing to say about the new one, because the new one looks way better to me than
Agree.
some of the other things. What do you think, Cap?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's definitely enlightening to see what they were brainstorming there, and I think they definitely landed on the right design. I mean,
Mhm.
whether they were vibing off the Yamato or not when they made it, I think
Mhm.
that ended up being the right place,
Mhm.
especially after looking at what some of these other designs. I mean, the giant wings, they would have had just tons of pancake to add, to aim at. It's going to be too much.
Mhm. Yeah. So you can see there's a lot of images here. So if you guys haven't seen this particular edition, I would tell you, if you know somebody who's a subscriber, to check it out, because it's just got a lot of very cool things in here. And you can see some other stuff that in the interior that they didn't show on the show, which is pretty neat. So check that out when you guys get time. Okay. As you can see, I'm going this is like page number 24. I mean, there's a lot of pages here. 34, I'm sorry. There's a lot of pages here leading up to the final design on this ship. Another one is that we just talked about, there's some interior stuff here as well. A lot of pages. Okay. And then there's also the M80. Again, they show some of the different designs that they were looking at for this ship. And some of them I actually like a little bit better. Some I hate. I will not dispute the fact that I think that there is some emphasis of what we saw when we saw the Kruger Wolf, that there's kind of like this futuristic kind of fighter stealth look that they've kind of been leaning to. And that just may be just in general. I don't want to lock that down completely to Kruger. But if you go some of the designs, like this one here up in the upper left, this one here on the bottom, I don't know. What do you think of these when you look at these, Cap, for like Origin? Do you feel like these kind of lean more toward the Origin feel? If you notice, it doesn't have the pointy end. This kind of has the 300 series nose to these. I actually like those a little bit.
Yeah, I think the main aesthetic on the M80 really is the pointy nose that
Mm-hmm.
has people leaning towards, the Kruger design and saying it looks a little too Kruger.
Mm-hmm.
You look at some of those designs, especially the one top right, that does look just changing the nose makes it look a little bit more Origin.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, it's a great looking ship. I'm really curious to see what the Kruger has a fighter coming out. When a
Mm-hmm.
Stingray comes out, what is that going to look like? Because
Yeah.
how are they going to differentiate that ship enough to look like a Kruger, heavy fighter versus the Origin heavy fighter that looks like a Kruger heavy fighter? So just kind of waiting to see what that's going to look like.
Yeah. 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 So again, there's a lot of great images in here. If you're just going to see some of the different ideas that they came up with, if you're interested into that, I know a lot of you do not necessarily like Origin, and then I know there are a lot of you who woke up and finally realized that Origin's amazing, which I'm happy to be able to say. I'm happy to know that you did. Um, but but seriously, there's just a lot of great stuff in here. If you have not seen this particular one, and if you're interested in these two particular ships in particular, check this out. That's what we're going to tell you. And then last thing that they did was they talked about this Latova retreat thing, which was pretty cool. And then of course, they showed the new armor. I'm sorry, this doesn't scroll up high enough for me to show all of that. I don't think I can get it up. No, I can't get it up there to go all the way. Cap, what did you think of that Xi'an armor that they dropped? Have you seen it up close?
Yeah, I've got it. So
Oh, you got it?
yeah, I like it.
Okay.
I like it. It gives a little something different, mostly from the helmet. The helmet is really what sets it off. I wouldn't say the body armor itself is too unique.
Yeah,
But
I needed
yeah.
something in the middle. You know what I mean? It's like you just got the
Mhm.
knees and the upper. It felt kind of empty, you know?
Yeah, once you take that helmet off, it really doesn't feel alien, doesn't feel
Yeah.
Xi'an. But I think my biggest gripe with that, and the last time they gave us some Xi'an armors, or not just that armor, but a few of them, they're not giving us backpacks to go with it. So
Yeah.
those of us
Yeah.
that like to,
Yeah.
coordinate and get the matching looks. Some of these
Mhm.
armors just have nothing you could wear with it, and it would have been
Yeah.
nice to see what their interpretation of an alien backpack, alien storage system would have looked like.
Yeah. Agreed. That's a great idea. How did you feel about the I'm gonna say the Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtle head inside? Would you think you liked it with the head or without? How do you feel about it? Because when I bought this, I didn't know that the Xi'an face was in it. I thought it was just the armor. And then when I got it and
Right.
put it on, I was like, there's a dead head in here. You know, do you like the dead
Like
head or do
I
you
like the
prefer
head
empty?
because that's the only thing that really differentiates it from anything else we have. You take
Okay.
that out, and it's pretty bland. There's not much
Yeah.
to it without that.
Yeah.
I wish there was some lore story to why it looks like that, but I'm glad to see it.
Okay. All right. That's cool. That's very cool. All right. Well, once again, you guys check out the Jump Point. Lots of good stuff in here. Lots of images to see where CIG's artists and designers, all the different ideas they entertain to produce the Odin and the M80. Okay. Oh, let me stop there before I show that. Let's talk about that because boy, it's amazing the rumors. God, it's amazing the rumors that happen when things come out. So I don't know if you saw this. CIG posted on their LinkedIn page an advertisement. It was kind of like an advertisement. And what it said, let me read it to you. It said the technical art team, it said our TA team is heading to develop in Brighton. Okay, so just be aware of that. Okay, and it says, we're excited to be in Brighton this July to connect with the incredible talent shaping the future of our gaming. At CIG, we are continuously pushing boundaries, and we know the groundbreaking innovation starts with great people. Whether you're an experienced developer, an aspiring artist, or just curious about what it's like to build the most ambitious space sim ever, we'd love to chat. Let's talk about life at CIG, our studio culture, and the future of Star Citizen and Squadron 42. Now, this is dropped the other day on their LinkedIn page, and it's just a video. And this is not the first time that they haven't put together a video about their company, but we haven't seen anything recently that's been updated. So we're going to play it for you. So check this out.
Did everybody have a good time today?
Still fun for me all these years on. So yeah, I'm not saying it's not a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun, and we are really building a universe with unbridled ambition.
So Cap, you are a industry person and you've known industry people. When there's a recruitment for new talent, CIG has always had like a period of time where people come and go. By the way, one of the things that was listed in the CFO report that we talked about earlier, Cap, was the fact that they mentioned that there was staff that left. And one of the things that we had talked about a while back, when people were talking about people like Todd Pappy and other folks who didn't continue with the company, that much of that was tied to the expansion of closing down LA and the building up of staffing over in Manchester. And the CFO referenced that in his letter, saying that there were people that they lost on staff. And a lot of it was due to people who chose not to move over to Manchester. And right now, I think when I was on their website about a week ago, I think I saw like there was like 54. CIG's looking to hire about 54 people. And I want to say about 38 or 40 of those people were just for the Manchester office. There was like maybe 8 people for Montreal, 4 people for Austin, and then everybody else was over in Manchester. Are these type of things the things that draw people when they're looking to work at a company that's in software?
Yeah, if
You're
you ask
muted.
about
Oh, there you go. I can hear you. Go ahead. I hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the video itself is going to be that big of a draw,
Mhm.
but I do think that in conjunction when they actually send out their acquisition group out there to elaborate on it, yeah, it could be a draw.
Mhm.
I think one of the things that probably holds them back from getting attracted by the random bigger talent, just really not knowing much about the project.
Product,
So
having product.
yeah, so
hmm
that video does help speak to that.
hmm
So does the advertisement there on LinkedIn.
hmm
I'm just hoping, or see it sticks to what they said there, because I think the most important part of what they said was building out the most ambitious space sim ever.
hmm
And you have Chris quoting, talking about building out a universe, and hoping
hmm
that they remembered that they said that, and they remembered that that's what they're looking towards, and
hmm
in that direction when it comes to some of the ideas that they've been having lately that maybe contradict some of those statements.
hmm Okay. Yep. I can understand that. And again, in an industry that fluctuates for a lot of reasons. And, we've seen companies come and go. We've seen games come and go. I mean, some games had tremendous potential over the years, just not reach completion. And, so far we're still hanging in here. CIG is still doing it. And I'm just hoping, like you said, that they are able to finally make that vision that they've talked about all these years become a reality. So yeah, just in case you guys see this video or you hear people talking about it, now you know which one it is they're talking about. Okay, because somebody said CIG put out a new video and people were looking on YouTube for it, and it's not. It's on their LinkedIn page. Okay. Okay. Almost last but not least, our sneak peek for this week. More heart than hardware. All right, Cap. We know that you've already figured it out. More heart than hardware. Usually I try to do a quick scan on Google to see if these phrases are tied. Because sometimes they've taken lyrics from songs and they've used other stuff. But this one I didn't get a chance to do. So if anybody in chat has some ideas on this one, feel free to toss it out there, because I'd love to know what you think this is. It looks like, is that a helmet with eyes drawn on it?
It does look like a helmet, and also if you're zooming on the helmet, you can see the reflection of what the helmet's looking at.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, you
I
can
didn't
actually
do
see
that.
You can actually see that it looks like the interior of a ship, and then you've got likely alien language there. We do know that they've got a new event coming up, or a new mission that's tied to threat and saving aliens and escorting them to safety.
Yeah, the alien stuff. Yeah.
So I think this is probably a precursor to that.
Yeah. I kept trying to figure out if that was at first some type of artifact writing, and then I said, well, no, I don't know if it's that. Then I saw the curved side, and I said, it looks like it might be a visor. But then, like, Serious Fun saying maybe it's dashboard flare. Some type of subscriber stuff. Joe Munkra says maybe it's just some type of flare. I don't know.
A lot of times these sneak peeks are tied to the kind of goodie we're going to get in the future, and I think that like you're saying in the chat, some dashboard flare, and when you're really zooming in on that picture, you can kind of see what it is that helmet.
That's what Almost says. He says if you zoom in and enhance, you can see the door open panel on the left side of the reflection, and if you look at the right, you can clearly see that. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's so silly. You got me, Almost. You got me. All right. Thank you, Jade. More heart than hardware is a lyric from the song Hallelujah by Grace and Dust. Thanks, Jade. Yes. Okay, well, they got me on this one, y'all. So we'll just have to see what this turns out to be. At least the good thing is we don't usually wait very long for these now. They usually come out within the next patch. So hopefully we'll figure it out then. Okay. All right, we're getting ready to take our break. But before we do that, as you guys know, we were talking about the Squadron 42 thing that's coming up. Some of you all know about the event where they're having this inviting content creators to come over to Manchester in October. And one of our team members that we want to talk about is Fastcart. Fastcart received an invitation to go. And some of you all know this and some of you don't. Each year, Fastcart doesn't get opportunities to travel very much. Not very many. Gets to visit family once a year. And the big thing that he always wants to do is go to CitizenCon. And one of the reasons why he's always go to CitizenCon when he could is also because he celebrates his birthday. His birthday is on October 8th. And so usually he kind of always tied his birthday as a gift to himself and to get to hang out with the community and really enjoy himself. And of course, we didn't have CitizenCon the last couple of years, and there was none scheduled for this year. But then he did receive an invitation to go over for this VIP event that's happening in Manchester. Now, Fastcard has gone to the CitizenCons in Austin, and he has gone to the one in Los Angeles. But overseas, he has not done Germany. He hasn't done Montreal. He's done nothing that's international. And because it is a bit much, it's a bit much for him to be able to do. And so, as you guys know, Fastcard has a mobility. He has to be in a cart. There's a whole lot of things involved with him traveling. And he mentioned this a while back. It was several years ago. We went to Austin, or was it LA? I think it was LA, right? Fastcard. Anyway, some people got together because his cart wasn't working, and they chipped in and bought him a brand new cart. And they wanted him, the community people wanted to make sure he was there. And Fastcart's been kind of known to be like an ambassador for Star Citizen. And so we started this week to raise money for Fastcard. He didn't know about this. I didn't ask him about it, didn't talk to him about it. All I did was tell him, you should put in for it and lock your hotel down, and that was it. So he is the first time he's hearing this now that we're talking about it. But we decided that we were going to do a fundraiser for him. So the first people I reached out to was our own team members. I thought that was only fair to reach out to our own folks because he's a part of us. And so we are going to set this up for you guys and set up a link to send Fastcard. We're going to send Fastcard to CIG. And we want you guys to consider donating toward the cause. As I mentioned, many of the people in the team have already given. Some of the folks have not had a chance to even see the message yet. I know that because they haven't checked it. But just so you'll see, there is a description here, and I'm going to put the link in the channel for you guys in a second. There's a QR code there. It'll take you to his page. There's a description. There's some information there that I want you to read. Make sure that you read it. But I want you all to see that we have already been able to raise, our total amount we need is $2,500. That's what we're shooting for, $2,500. We've already raised $690 already. So we've already gotten a quarter of the money, a quarter of the money already, just from the team itself. And if you guys decide to pitch in on this, we're going to have this up for the next few weeks. It would be fabulous. It would be a wonderful gift to him for all his contributions that he's done. Take away all the bad jokes, and you might find it in your heart to give him something. So we want you guys to give some consideration to this. I'm going to put the link in chat. Bear with me 1 second here. And then we're going to get ready to go to our break. But the QR code is there. Where's my history page? Forgive me, gang. I'm trying to do too many things at once here. Where is he? Here he is, right here. Boom, boom, shakalaka. All right, there it is right here. Send FC to CIG. All right, now, I will say there's a little bit of urgency to this. And the only reason why there's urgency, even though the event is in October, Fastcard has booked his hotel. That's not a problem. His hotel's booked, right? He doesn't have to pay that till then. But airfare is cheaper, usually the further out that we are than now. So if you want to help him be able to get his airfare locked in within the next few weeks, we would love to be able to see if we could achieve this goal for him, because that way he can get that out of the way. Airfare to the UK is about $1,000, y'all. Maybe a little bit more because he may have to have some extras done. But I can tell you on the average, a good deal for it is around $1,000. Okay. So again, our target is 2,500. We're already at 690. And so we're going to take our break. I'm going to change this back, get rid of this. And as you guys know, it's going to be a 1-minute commercial, and then we're going to have a 4-minute break. And then when we come back, we're going to kick off the second half of our show, where we're going to be talking about, we're going back into our Shipyard series, and we're going to be talking about the Bengal Carrier. So there's the QR code. There's the link. And yeah, we'll be back in just a couple minutes. So thanks again for all that you guys are going to do, because we know you guys are going to do it. We'll see you in a minute. Hello, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for being here today. Thank you guys, as always, for your support. If you're watching us, that means you are a supporter of the Soul Citizens. Special thanks to Captain Jones, my buddy here. Always glad to have him on with us, and we hope that you guys are enjoying the show today. Our conversation today is going to be talking about the Bengal Carrier, one of the oldest and lore thought about ships in this game. And so hopefully we'll share some information with you guys that maybe you've never heard about the Bengal, but we're going to go back all the way to the beginning and watch a few videos, watch a lore video by Paul Shelley. And then we're going to kind of break down this whole thing of the fact that CIG actually said that maybe someday you'll be able to ride in a Bengal Carrier. So stick around and we will be back in just a hot second. Okay. See you soon.
On and on across the stars we fly, soul citizens, bringing us that endless sky. We each build up what we want to be, but together we're making history. On and on, on and on, on and on, on and on. To be, but together we're making history. On and on, 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 on and on. And all across the endless night, our soul citizens burn ever bright. And night, our soul citizens burn ever bright. On and on across the stars we fly, soul citizens bringing us that endless sky. We each build up what we want to be, but together we're making history. On and on, on and on. Johan, Captain Jones, Fast Card FC, Go Map ATL, GriffinGamingRPG, Jade Star Watcher, Karate, Colossal, Serious Fun, Summer Geo, Unique, Yo-Yo Man!
welcome back to the Soul Citizens. I'm Griffin Gaming RPG. I'm joined today with my good friend Captain Jones. Cap, I gotta ask you a question. When you were first introduced to seeing the Bengal Carrier, was it that video or did you see something else? I'm just kind of curious because that kind of goes way back.
So I kind of have remember seeing the video from before. You know, it was a little older, but my real exposure to it was Invictus Week.
Invictus,
So
yeah.
I knew it existed, had totally forgot about it, and then when it showed up on Invictus Week, that brought back the memories. But being able to see it flying around and really seeing the scale of that ship compared to what you're in and the other big ships.
Yeah.
The video just doesn't really do it justice.
Yeah. I agree. Okay. Well, listen, I had to ask that question because we're coming off the intro. But I want to very quickly change and pivot just for a moment here, and put some things up on the screen. First thing I want to do is put this up. Okay. And second thing I want to do is put this up. All I can say is, Fastcart, you have a lot of people who love you because this is where we are right now. You guys have already raised $1,600, almost $1,700 for Fastcart's trip. It's over, literally, you guys raised $1,000 that quickly, and that is amazing. Y'all did that in 4 minutes. You all did that in 4 minutes. And so we really want to tell you guys, I know Fastcart wants to tell you guys, and I'm sure he'll have plenty of opportunities to come on in the following weeks. And thank you all for all the contributions that you gave, whether it was $10 or $500, whatever it was you gave. Wow, thank you. This is definitely enough to get him to get his airline ticket booked. And again, to cover his total cost, it's $2,500. We're going to probably just do this a couple more weeks, and hopefully we'll generate the full amount that he needs to make sure that he can make it over to the UK. As you guys know, it is not cheap to do a trip like that, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime trip for him to be able to go to the UK. So you guys are fulfilling something that he did not want to ask for, and I know he didn't, because he told me the other day that he didn't want to say anything about the fact that he needed help. And so I never told him anything. I had to keep it quiet the whole time and act like I didn't care. But we started raising this money earlier this week, so we were already ahead of the game for him for this. So thank you all again. And again, if you want to give, the QR code will be up there throughout the show. If you have the opportunity, if you want to do it later, it'll be there too. All right, Cap, we got to cover the waterfront here, brother, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. One of the first things I want to do, though, before we go any further, I gotta see if there's something I need to read. Okay. The Bengal Carrier, let me put it back up, is a fleet carrier spacecraft manufactured by Roberts Space Industries for the United Empire of Earth Navy, UEEN. Bengal-class carriers carry multiple squadrons of fighters, bombers, and support craft, and typically form the nucleus of the UEN battle fleet or task force group. Their massive armaments and extremely heavy shielding make it nearly impossible for any individual craft to threaten them. It's 909 meters in length. Cap, when people first talked about the Bengal back in the day, CIG had kind of said, people ask, oh, will we ever be able to like steal a Bengal or find a Bengal? And if I'm remembering correctly, and y'all forget me because my memory's getting bad, back in the day, CIG was like, well, there may be one or two out there that have been like damaged and disabled, and people will be able to find it and fix it up or could take it over. Do you remember any conversation like that back in the early days?
I remember that being the exact game plan, and was looking forward to that. So I know there's been talks of possibly being able to build it with the space stations now, but I really did like the OG idea of finding a derelict out there and having to work towards rebuilding it into a flyable state. with that ship being limited, meaning that, unless you're able to find I don't know if they ever actually gave us a number, but if you're able to find a few that was out there and you rebuild it, that was gameplay until itself. So I don't know if that's still going to be an option, but yeah, they definitely talked about it back in the day.
Yeah. Okay. I'm making sure I wasn't completely crazy with that story. We're going to watch a video by Paul Shelley in a little bit more. It's only like 10 minutes long, but it's going to give some background here, and then we'll kind of go over some of it afterward. So you guys sit back, relax, and let's go ahead and watch this video.
My name is Paul Shelley, and welcome to The AstroHistorian. This is a channel dedicated to exploring and explaining the lore of sci-fi and space universes and discussing their impact. Today we'll be talking about the darling of human ship design of the Star Citizen universe, the RSI Bengal Carrier, and how a major shift in design and politics created it. Before we get into that, I want to thank y'all for your continued support. 20,000 subscribers. That's 20k subscribers and growing. That's all because of you right now. If you've been enjoying these videos, be sure to hit that like button, as it really seems to help. And if you haven't already subscribed, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to stay up to date on the latest videos. If you want to go that extra mile, we also have YouTube memberships and Ko-fi for financial donations. Lastly, if you want early, ad-free access to these videos, consider joining the Patreon as well. All those links are in the description below. Now let's talk about how the big cat of the UEE came to be. To understand the Bengal and its creation, we have to understand the context of the world it was created in. The late 29th century was a chaotic time for humanity. Almost a century had passed since the fall of the Mezzers, and while things were getting better domestically, the military was still floundering, as it was in the middle of a major swap over from the old Mezzer-era weapons, armor, and ships to new up-to-date ones. For centuries, Aegis Dynamics was effectively the only ship manufacturer for humanity's military. They were closely tied to the dictatorial Mezzer regime, so when the Mezzers fell, Aegis was only just able to survive due to the fact that their ships were the literal backbone of the UEE fleet. However, they lost all new contracts entirely, meaning no new Aegis ships would be delivered to the UEE for a long time. This also left the UEE with a problem. Their fleet was aging, with no new prospects on the horizon. Companies like Anvil Aerospace and Crusader Industries were picking up the slack from the loss of Aegis, but there was still a large gap in new capital ship development. And to make things worse, the Vanduul were starting to raid UEE space once again. While ships like the Javelin and the Hornet were leaps and bounds better at combating the resurgent Vanduul, most of the Navy's fleet was woefully outdated in design, in some cases by several centuries. Now, to clarify, while the UEE uses very old designs of ships, no ships in the UEE Navy are hundreds of years old. The older designs of the ships, like the Idris, which are still produced in the modern era, are made with modern construction techniques and updated systems. The issue with these ships is not their age, it's their design. The Aegis was designed to keep the peace in a post-Tavaran War UEE. Its design emphasized operating alone against, at best, ruggedized civilian militia ships, not alien raiding parties who specialize in melee combat with their ships. The fleet was starting to modernize before the fall of the Mezzers, with the Javelin built in 2690. However, older ships, like the much-discussed but never-seen battleships and cruisers of the fleet, were no match for the rapid and close-range fighting style of the Vanduul. The Navy needed to modernize their fleet and change their doctrine to adapt to the Vanduul, and to do this, an old friend of the Navy offered their services: RSI. You see, ever since the Second Tavaran War, RSI had been without any military contracts, most of their ships being replaced with new Aegis designs. While RSI had continued to work with government scientific bureaus and the Terraforming Oversight Committee, the company had shifted most of its focus towards commercial and civilian contracts. In fact, RSI was so divorced from the machinations of the UEE that they actively used the failures of the Mezzer regime to make themselves look good. When the 12-year-old child laborer Anthony Tanaka was shot dead on the factory floor by the Mezzer advocacy for refusing to work, RSI very publicly began to distance themselves from the Mezzers. The CEO acknowledged the sad death and ordered a complete evaluation of all RSI facilities to make sure that they were adhering to all health and safety standards. This would garner a response, with a few months later, Ulysses Mezzer released damning and incontrovertible evidence of corporate malfeasance to news orgs, claiming that The CEO at the time, Gedema, had embezzled federal finances for personal use. The case languished in the courts for years, but the constant barrage of quote-unquote evidence forced Gedema to step down. Ever since, RSI and the UAE had been butting heads politically, so when the measures were overthrown, RSI came out of the feud with even more power and prestige, having openly challenged the Bezer regime, yet still with no military contracts. However, during the first half of the 29th century, they made inroads with the military, suggesting the use of their extensive and purpose-built heavy shipyards around the L points of Earth to construct capital-class ships, and around the middle of the century, both sides came to an agreement. RSI would take the place of Aegis, building the next generation of capital ships, this time with heavy emphasis on fighting the Vanduul. The crown jewel of this agreement was the design and construction of a new supercarrier-class ship, which would be dubbed the Bengal class. The Bengal Carrier is supremely massive, at almost a kilometer long. This is to house squadrons of fighters and other support craft over 2 separate decks of the ship. The main hangar deck is simply massive. The interior space of a Bengal flight deck is large enough to house an Idris frigate, if it weren't for the openings being too small for an Idris to navigate inside. This denotes the main purpose of the Bengal. It's a carrier ship. Its job is to house the main force of any fleet against the Vanduul, the flexible squadrons of large and small ships such as the F-7A Hornets, F-7C Lightnings, Gladiator bombers, and more, which all act as a force multiplier for the ship. However, the ship isn't just a carrier. It sports impressive firepower as well. Bengals come standard with 20 twin-linked Size 7 anti-spacecraft ballistic cannons loaded with flak rounds, and at least a dozen remote phalanx point defense Gatlings and Beehive missile pods. But the true threat of the ship comes with its turret of 4 bearing Shipbuster railguns, which are designed for engaging enemy carriers and the much-feared Vanduul Kingship. To give you context, a Shipbuster railgun is said to be able to core a cruiser-class ship and below with a single shot. Since the Javelin, UAE naval ships have been designed with 3 major factors to help them against the aggressive Vanduul threats: thick armor, sloping hulls, and massive firepower. This is because the Vanduul favor close-in fighting with heavy weapons and, whenever possible, melee attacks. Yes, even with their capital ships. As we already stated, the Bengal has impressive firepower between its squadrons and armaments, but it also has impressive armor. One source stated that the armor of the ship is 34.4 inches or 92 centimeters thick. To put that in perspective, the Yamato, the most armored battleship in human history, had its thickest armor at 25.6 inches or 65 centimeters. Then, to aid that armor in deflecting incoming blows, much of the ship's hull is sloped. The ship itself has a max crew of 476, with habitation for all. Now, this is likely reflective of the Bengal having a larger capacity than 476, just that it has 476 stations on the ship, meaning the average Bengal could have crews of over 1,000 in certain conditions. Given the size of the ship, it's also difficult for that personnel to move around, and as such, the Bengal actually has its own tram system to allow the crew to quickly move through the ship. It's also stated that the ship was designed to be as self-sustaining as possible, with an average of 20 years worth of fuel. The engines and power plant of the ship are classified, but some sources say that the ship runs on a bespoke antimatter reactor, which is orders of magnitude more efficient than typical fusion reactors that power other larger naval vessels, which may account for the longevity of the Bengal. It's also not hard to believe that a ship like the Bengal is designed to meet all the needs of the crew, with any amenities a starman in deep space patrol may need to not only survive, but keep morale high. Though this is a supposition at this point, and no interior layout of the ship is yet available. The Bengal Carrier has since become a staple of the UAE Navy, practically the poster child of the new UAE itself, with its iconic silhouette plastered over recruitment ads and posters all over the empire. While we don't know how many of these supercarriers are in service, we do know that they have continued to roll out of the RSI shipyards of Earth and Citien ever since their first release in 2871. We do know of at least 2 different Bengals in service, the first being UES Krugeri of the 2nd Fleet 65th Battle Group under the command of Captain Thomas Wade. The second is the UES Barbary, which is the Bengal that anchors the battle group responsible for the protection of Stanton, possibly operating out of Jericho Station near Microtech. This is the main Bengal Carrier we see in-game now during the Invictus celebrations. These two ships do point to the fact that Bengals are named after cats from Earth's history. The first probably being the UES Bengal in reference to the Bengal cat of Asia. The Krugeri is named after a South African lion, and the Barbary after a North African lion which is now extinct. Future ships will likely keep this naming convention. Bengals have been described as the tip of the spear for the UAE Navy, and it's not hard to see why. The ship plays a pivotal role in not only defense against external and internal defense, but that of morale and public confidence. Its imposing size and distinctive shape make the Bengal Carrier a statement of might and power of the UAE. I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'd like to thank those who are on screen now for supporting the channel financially. If you want to throw in a few credits, think about becoming a member on YouTube, and if you want a bit more for your contribution, join the Patreon. Patreons get early ad-free access to all videos, including exclusive early access to my long-running Complete History of Star Citizen lore series, whose 3 episodes are now available for everyone to view. If you want to know what you're getting, check out the playlist in the top right. Now, I want to hear your thoughts on the Bengal Carrier and any other lore topics in the comments below. And as always, remember, ex Historia ad Astra.
Okay. Always some love to our good friend Paul Shelley. He does all the hard work, makes it all easy for those gamers like us who don't like to read. Captain Jones, a lot of history there, tying in the lore. I mean, yeah, I think sometimes we forget how much work the lore team has kind of put in, lay down a lot of this groundwork for something as simple as a ship, you know? I know we're going to go over the specs on this ship in just a little bit, but, you know, what do you think about this ship, especially when you talk about its purposes against the Vanduul?
Yeah, I think it being purpose-built combat the Vanduul is pretty interesting. You know, even things like the sloped holes isn't something I really thought about. I thought that was just design language, you know, that was a aesthetic choice, but hearing that it had a purpose to make it a little better against the Vanduul was pretty interesting. But it was hard to really visualize that after seeing how that squadron got wrecked when they did go against the Vanduul. Because we did see quite a bit of Bengals in that fleet, and we all saw what that end result was. So it's cool that they were built to, you know, go up against the duels. I'm not sure how effective they ultimately become. Maybe that's why the Odin exists. You know, maybe that's where that lore is going to start fitting in as well. But otherwise, it's a cool ship. I mean, the fact that when you fly up to it during Invictus, you can see how grandiose it is in size, but never really realized that Idris would actually fit inside of there.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy,
That's
right?
pretty eye-opening. I know a Carrick would, because I tried to get my Carrick in there, but yeah.
Oh, you did? Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, but knowing that, you know, the Idris is really the biggest thing we fly around now, and then knowing that could fit inside the other, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is. Would you read that part about development, and then we'll start our next video, because this next video is going to actually talk about how CIG came up with this ship. You got that development video 3?
So, an initial concept of the Bengal is designed by Ryan Church, freelance concept in 2013, and then handed off to a crew of artists, including Sergio Rosas at CGBOT. Throughout the coming years, it was only ever displayed in certain promotional videos or development updates. In one particular case, an episode of Around Diverse, which used to display the development progress on the ship, showing several interior shots, such as ship hangars and flight decks. Throughout time, it has been worked on mostly behind the scenes. The ship was featured in several Squadron 42 teasers or trailers, confirming that it would need to be developed for an appearance in that game.
Yeah. Exactly. So we're gonna and this was just what he just read just now. I'm sorry I didn't have that up. But there were a couple videos where CIG actually did kind of do like a behind the ships kind of thing to describe it. Some of us, as Cap said earlier, have actually seen the Bengal in game. I actually kind of miss it, Cap. You know how it used to show up for Invictus, you know. If you
Right.
guys don't, for those of you who weren't around back then, on it, what used to happen on Invictus is that a fleet would leave from the 4 or the 3 main planets. It was 3. Well, it was only doing 3 planets at the time, wasn't it? Because I don't even know if Crusader was even in at the time. Crusader wasn't even in. Orison wasn't in. Now that I think about it, I think it would make the rounds from Microtech to Hurston and to Arcor, and it would just do the triangle. Because I don't think Crusader was in
On
the
the
last time it came out. Was
on
it?
the on its very first the very first year, it
Mhm.
didn't. But on its last appearance,
It did all 4.
yeah.
Okay. And yeah, you used to be able to see it out there, and it was being escorted by Idrises and other ships and stuff. It was very, very cool. And they haven't done that recently. So what we're going to do now is look at the video that leads into this, and starting with the development, the work in progress video that CIG put together. Oh, wait a minute. Before we do that, I'm sorry. I'm going to show you a video. And Fast Card, I know you're wondering where it's at. I'm sorry I didn't have these links for you. This is the one that Fast Card, this is the one with that guy's name. If you look up that guy's name, you might be able to find the link for it. Okay, that was listed there. Back in the early days when, you know, CryEngine is something that you could download, right? And many Star Citizen content creators started learning about CryEngine because CIG was using it. It was free to download. And if you got into the game files, you could get some of these files or some of these ships. And so what you're going to see right now is an example of that. Okay. And this is an early version of it. This is not 100% detail, but I'm only showing you this because that original version of the Bengal you saw at the opening is what you're going to see here, but it will show you the scale of this ship. Okay. So yeah, we're going to kind of just show this real quick. I'm going to pull those little things down on the side. By the way, you guys see how much you've raised so far for Fast Card? Amazing. 2155. Amazing. We're almost at 2,500 already. Cap, I was always amazed at like content creators and people who were so into this game that they would go do stuff like that. You know what I mean? They go find the game files and stuff. But it does kind of give you a bit of an idea, because the only thing we had back then was that video that we opened up with, right? That was the presentation video that Chris Roberts presented at GDF, and that was all we had. So to be able to see something like that kind of blew our minds. I know some of y'all, I know we joking around about, yeah, that looks like it's 2008, and I get it. But that was CryEngine back then. I mean, you could do that on your home computer. This was not like you had to have some, you still had to have a pretty good computer to do it. But yeah, that was what happened. I missed the replace me balls. Okay. Yeah, GQ. I haven't seen those in a little while, right? Oh man. Cap, we got another video to look at. And this is the one that CIG did later. And this is the period, like you said, when you got introduced to the Bengal, when we start seeing the work in progress versions of it. So let's take a quick look. Oh, before we do that, we got specs, I think, right? I think we got specs to talk about.
Yeah,
before we get there. Yeah, now this is, if you guys want to see this stuff, there is a ship page for the Bengal on the CIG website. I think the link is there, Fastcart, for that, if you can drop it. This is kind of like the design document for the Bengal. So if you've never seen it, you can take a look at it. Now, please keep in mind, as some of you all know, on CIG's website, there's some stuff that was updated last month, and there is some stuff that is dated 2013. Okay. And I think this might be one of them. Okay. So understand that the specs that you're going to see here may not be the same specs of the Bengal now. In fact, when we watch the work in progress video, they're going to talk about how they had to expand and do some things, and you're going to get new numbers. Okay. But I just want to show you this stuff because this was stuff that CIG did put out, early concept art, concept work to get you an idea of what they were working on for how the Bengal carrier would look and operate. Of course, it evolved, right? But this is just, again, just give you somewhat of an idea of the progress of the ship and what it was looking like over a period of time. Some of the specs on this we read in some of the descriptions earlier. This is an RSI ship for our RSI. I know we Captain Jones and Serious Fun got their chests all stuck out right now because RSI built this particular ship. But the length on this is, it's actually, even though they have it listed as 1,000 meters on the wiki, CIG's numbers was 990. Now this number could change. And they may in one of these videos mention it. I don't remember if they say what the new length of it is, but either way it goes, 10 meters more, 1,000 meters, this thing is a monstrosity. Cap, you see what that crew count is, right?
755, probably at least.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. I mean, while we're here on this topic, I know orgs were always drooling at the mouth and people were drooling out, oh, we're going to find a Bengal and fly it. But these numbers are kind of astronomical. I mean, they're astronomical. I'm not saying that's what people need, but if you saw a ship like this, especially in relation to it, because you've seen it, you've seen the Idris, you've seen the Javelin, you've flown the Polaris, we've gotten a taste of what the battle cruiser is going to look like. What's a real number you think for an org to be able to handle a ship like this? I mean, is there a number that this ship just actually gets just at that scale and size, the number is ridiculous, or is there a number you think is doable for a committed group of people? I mean, like a committed group of people to handle.
Really goes on to what the group is trying to accomplish. So if they just want to fly around and cruise, you need someone to pilot, obviously, and people to keep you from catching on fire. But if you want to use it to be effective, it is a battleship. You need someone to man all of those guns. You need somebody to be redoing the ammo. You need someone doing the engineering. I mean, it has a train in the ship, so that kind of tells you that you're not going to be able to do this with 10 or 15 people. So I don't think that you probably don't need 755.
No,
they generally ties their crew count to how many bids they have in the ship.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think if you want to be effective, say you've got a fully crewed Bengal fighting another fully crewed Bengal, or even hopefully Vandal someday, you're going to need in the hundreds. to be
You think
effective.
hundreds, really? Now, do you think that's
Yeah.
practical though, game wise? Though, do you think you can? Are orgs able? Like, I know in games like Eve and stuff, they have literally thousands of people that come out. Right, everybody's in their ships and they fight. Do you think that the community is ready for ships? Like back in the day, they used to talk about like for the javelin, you needed like 80 people, and even that seems like a lot to a lot of people, right? A lot of people are hoping it's like more
Right.
like 50 people. So if CIG does pull numbers down like that, like if Idris, which used to be like the 40 numbers, I think 48 or something, let's say that comes down to 24 or something, or 30. I mean, is 100 people a reasonable number for a ship of this scale? 1,000 meters? I mean, it's a big ship, like you said. 1,000 meters is it's huge.
Yeah, I think what people are going to do is supplement the more mundane or easier tasks to NPCs if we do get the NPC
If we do
crew.
NPCs, that'll be the way to offset it.
Yeah, because a ship that requires you to get in a train to get from one spot to the other doesn't mean you can't have a crew of 30 trying to get around. If
Right.
you're the Van Duel you're fighting is going to be fully crewed. They're not going to be running around trying to run from an engineering terminal to a turret. So players are doing that. They're going to be behind the 8 ball. But I think what they'll do is, you'll put NPCs in turrets, you put NPCs doing maintenance, you do NPCs making sure when something's on fire, putting it out and supplement it. But you're going to need a large crew to be effective. Can you fly around with a small crew? Sure, the Odin, you can fly around with one person because they have pilot controlled lasers. But
but this, like you said,
be
this is flying around.
effective.
Right.
Can you be effective in the gameplay as it's designed to? No, you're gonna need a lot of people just because it takes so long to get from one part of the ship to the other.
Okay. They've got here for the mass, and this is all in tons, folks. So take that for what it's worth. The focus for it, the range is unlimited, 20 years plus that this thing can just run out in space. Cargo capacity, once again, 15,000 tons. We don't know what that translates into for SCU. The engines are classified, but they mentioned that in the video. I don't know what modifiers are completely. I'm not completely sure what that is in the specs. Are you, Cap? Because I don't know what modifiers are.
I was looking at that.
Yeah, it's on the wiki, so I'm not sure, and it is in the spec thing, so we'll have to look it up later. Antimatter, though, this ship is the one ship that does run on a completely different system for its power. And one of the things you're going to see in this next video that we watch is CIG talked about how that first first Bengal you guys saw when we first started the show out, how they actually changed the engine design into the newer look, and they're going to explain why. And it's actually interesting. I think, again, this is one of those areas where people underestimate or don't understand the level that CIG puts into these ships. That what we think is cosmetic for them is actual physicality and engineering, and the engines actually do put out a certain type of output and balance, and it's real for them to have to do that in the game. It's not just a visual thing, and they talk about that a little bit. They said there's like 16 moving thrusters on this thing. When it comes to weapons, if I'm remembering correctly, Cap, I think they said there are 90 turrets on this ship, if I'm remembering correctly from the video. Some, of course, are remote. So there's various types of turrets, but there are at least 90 points that have turrets on them in the ship. And these are just some of the weapons. Of course, some of these weapons are not even in the game, especially these large-scale ones. But they talk about the Icarus plating on this ship, 36-inch plating on this ship. The Phoenix-class shield generators, the burst generators. There's a lot of stuff here that's listed that they make for these ships. And this is pretty much dry dock repair, right, Cap? You're not going to go out with you go out and replace a component probably on a ship like this. You probably take it to the dry dock to get it fixed, you think? Or a crucible, maybe.
Yeah. With the crucible potentially being reworked to be larger, maybe it could handle some of that. And this is definitely capital class. I mean, I know admirals out there. I'm gonna have to get his permission to call this one the capital. I don't know if I'm allowed to or not, but it's gonna be capital class. And yeah, I mean, you can fly around with a SRT and try to repair stuff if you want, but yeah, it's not going to work.
Not going to work too good. Okay. By the way, you guys, if you notice that the The fundraising has increased. We're at $2,155. We're only just a little over $345. That's around that away, $45 away from our target. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Look at Fast Card. I'm sure Fast Card's got tears rolling down his eyes. But thank you. You know what? Fast Cart will now be able to go eat beans and toast. Let's just say that. You've given him something to look forward to when he goes over to the UK. Captain Jones was over in the UK with us last time. We had a great time. We were over there. Okay, let's move on to this next video, the work in progress video, and take a look at that.
John turned around to me and told me that we were going to be putting the Bengal into the actual PU. And at first I thought he was just pulling my leg, because I mean, it's the Bengal, the biggest ship that we're ever going to have in the PU, floating around. And I was like, well, is it just going to appear then fly away, or is it just in a poster? And he's like, no. I want it to be like we had the Javelin last year, where it comes in, it shoots, the players can try and fight it, and it flies around. I'm like, cool, that's not a small amount of work. That's a little bit of a minor task on top of everything else that's going on. The Bengal itself had a lot of old issues with it. Compared to a lot of our newer ships, it didn't feel as good, it didn't look as good. So we saw this as a great opportunity to go in and just fix some of this old legacy things that we'd done with the actual ship setup. So we started by fixing the problems first of all. So the giant engines at the back, the whole thing was a single thruster. So we started by cutting that out, making the actual nacelle part of the main ship geo, and then after making the ship geo, we then attached the actual thrusters as thrusters, so they work as thrusters. And then we found that it didn't have proper thruster placement because it was using the original IFCS system that didn't need it completely in IFCS 2. Obviously, it's not faked, it's real, so we had to actually go in and place new thrusters and rearrange some of the old ones just to get it to feel nice and to fly the way we'd expect it to. And after that, we had to then look at the weapons. This is the Bengal. It's got over 90 turrets to it that function, that fire, that fight back, that you have to actually deal with. So we went through and we saw that a lot of them were very nose-heavy placement, so we then completely changed the design of the location of the turrets, which went through a couple of iterations to make sure everyone was happy with it. It felt really weird for the entire carrier to have a complete front-nose battery. So we moved a lot of the weaponry and a lot of the cover around so that it was evenly distributed around the ship for the missile turrets, the phalanxes. After that was all done, you know, those really small, minor, insignificant tasks, it was then a case of actually having it work, because unsurprisingly, when you put the Bengal into the PU, it doesn't run very well, because there's a lot of entities. It was a huge performance hit. Like, it was insane. Even internally, we were seeing a massive performance drop. So the next job was to try and optimize this, to actually get it to run in a decent way. If you have a look at any of the AI ships that the pirates use in the PU, there's physically a dude sat in the seat, which at the end of the day costs. Everything has a cost involved with it. So we started to explore a couple of different ways to do it. One route we took was to hide the whole thing behind vis areas, so it just wouldn't render it, wouldn't call it, wouldn't draw any of it, and that gave us a lot of wins. But we also saw it as an opportunity to try and do something we haven't really done on ships before, which was to have actual AI modules controlling the turrets. So we started playing about with that. We hit issues because we've never tried to implement it on this sort of scale. But after a lot of people doing a lot of hard work and playing about with it and making slight tweaks here and there, we ended up with the AI turret module, which was a huge performance boost. And I spawned in a load of pirate Idrises to fight the thing. And it was just amazing watching all of the guns pointing in different directions and just fire everywhere. It looked amazing. And then the missiles were coming in, it was shooting down all the missiles everywhere. And I probably spent a good half an hour just trying to actually hit it with a missile. There's just that much gunfire that it looks great. It's hard to describe how cool it looks when it's actually firing at a group of people. The impact of seeing the Bengal working, flying around was just incredible for people. And the Bengal's something I've been working on for quite a long time, for Squadron 42. But once it's in the PU, people can fly around it and just take in the sheer size of it. It's just incredibly huge. And having an event like Invictus meant that we push specific tech and specific things in a way that were going to be used later down the line. So that's a step forward towards having unmanned AI turrets on ships. We learned better ways to optimize the way we actually have AI crew inside the ship, because everything we do can be reused. We learn from it, we improve from it, and it can help everything as a whole. It's a lot of work, and we as developers spend a lot of time focusing on really minor details, and sometimes we just tunnel on little things and think, well, is this huge time I'm spending on this one little thing really worth it? But then when we see it in the community and seeing how much people love it and how wild they go for it, just seeing their responses to it, it just completely lifts my spirits up every time. So worth it in the end, once we actually got it in. Really, really cool.
You guys forgive me, I had my buttons assigned in reverse. That was actually part 2 of that video. So I'm going to let you see the part 1, the work in progress part 2. So just kind of keep that in mind, that this video I'm showing you now came out before that video. Okay, but it gives a little bit more detail about them designing it.
Just as a little highlight for you guys, we're going to take a brief look at the Bengal. It's the first ship that Chris revealed for Squadron 42. It's a big beast. We've done extensive work on the hangar and the exterior. To give you an idea of the scale of the Bengal, you can fit an Idris inside of the Bengal's hangar, pretty much. You can't quite fly it in, but it's pretty close. So it's a huge undertaking. It requires a lot of investigation into different lighting techniques, different construction techniques, different meshing techniques. Essentially, it's just one big bowl of soup that we need to work out how we're going to first of all fit it in memory, make it render, and make it fly. So it's never been done before in any game, and that's the challenge that we're approaching here. So in total in the Bengal, and this isn't just a hangar, we've got a total of 7 artists working on the Bengal at the moment. They kicked off about, beginning of the year. Before that, we were kind of R&Ding how we're going to approach it efficiently. We've got Jay, who's been heading up the hangar process for us. We've got Ian, who's been working with Jay, and we've got Robin as well, who's looking at the bridge. And then we go to exterior work, which is another challenge in itself. So we've got Phil, our senior artist, working up. He's just come off the Starfarer, so to give you an idea of the quality that we're going to be pushing there. And when you approach making kind of ships over a kilometre in scale, the construction technique in 3D completely changes. We can model everything up to a certain extent, but then you have to start relying on kind of clever shader techniques to get that sense of scale on massive volumes and make the overall aesthetic of the ship work with those construction techniques. And as you can see from this kind of brief preview of the exterior, it's come along really well. All the guys are up for the challenge. When we started on it, it was just a lot of scratching heads, a lot of, oh my God, what are we going to do? I mean, the exterior alone has like 90 turrets and missile launchers, something along that off the top of my head. There's huge turrets. One of the turrets on the exterior is the size, it's slightly smaller than Idris, basically. You put a Gladius next to it, it just dwarfs it with this cannon. It's brilliant. But then we've got all the other kind of components on the exterior, which add up to a significant amount of data to push around at one time. So you have to be very kind of careful how you construct that. When you start to see other ships within the environment and characters walking around in that environment, you get a full sense of scale. As I mentioned, it's massive. This comes with its own set of challenges for kind of how much kind of geometry we can render. In this case, the scale of probably 3 or 4 battlefield maps and floating it around and everything's functional. You can warp it around in space. That's never been done before. We're up for the challenge. We're doing it. It is a challenge. Nothing in life is easy in this industry, but I'm fairly confident we're about sort of 70% of the way there now. Once all that kind of underlying tech comes on board, it will work. As you can see, it's looking beautiful. So, yeah, that's the challenge that we've got for the next, should we say, 3 months. I'd estimate it'll be done. Yeah.
So thank you, Fastcard, for finding those links for us. That video was 2016, so that was 4 years after the presentation in 2012 when they did the redesign of the Idris from the original. And then the first video I showed you guys was from 2021, which is 5 years later after that, which is 5 years ago from now. But the design that we have currently, now mind you, I'm sure that that's going to have a probably even more refined design probably in Squadron 42, but we'll see, you know, what that's going to look like, because CIG has kind of told us that the Idris in Squadron 42 looks different than the one, a little bit different than the one we have in the Persistent Universe. Cap, I was going to ask you, I'll turn this video off. What are your thoughts about, I mean, I'm personally, I'm still amazed. Sorry. I'm still amazed at the fact that, like, I'm remembering back in the day when we would spawn a Starfarer into the server and the server would crash. You know what I mean? And a lot of people weren't around back in those days. Like, if someone brought a Starfarer up at Port Olisar, it literally, actually, I remember two things. Either it crashed the server or the frame rates just dropped everywhere in the system, right? And now we spawn Starfarers, Perseises, Javelins, Idrises, and, you know, nobody knows it, right? But what do you think about ships when you start looking at this type of scale? You know, I mean, I don't think people think about the technology of what it means to have a ship like this and have, you know, 30, 40, 50, 100 people running around doing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really goes into, you know, their goal to have that dynamic server meshing done to where it's going to be able to spool up servers, even for ships. They were saying some of these cap ships might have their own server.
Yeah.
So
could you talk about that a little bit? Talk about that a little bit, because some people may not have heard that back when that was a thing that CIG was talking about.
Yeah, so right now we do have server meshing that's working, but, you know, that is a static mesh. So those servers are there, and in some cases you can even tell when you've crossed over from one to the other. But their ultimate goal is to be able to pull those up impromptu when needed. So, you know, for example, right now they're static, and, you know, sometimes we could tell during fleet weeks or times when a bunch of people on, it gets a little bogged down. You know, if you pulled up something like a Bengal with 100 crew in it, obviously that's going to take a hit on assets. So what Six's plan is to be able to do is dynamically pull up servers to accommodate those larger needs as they come and go. You know, so you won't have that server always just sitting there running in the background, but somebody is able to fully crew a Bengal. You know, they're able to figure out how to get 500 people on there, or they just got 500 people on a 890 having a party or something. You got to have a server that can handle that.
Yeah.
Ships are going to be a server in themselves, and then once that need goes away, then they'll just pull that server back down.
Yeah. You know, listen, I'm, you know, I know people think, oh, Griff, you're such a white knight for CIG, but I'm just a person that remembers when we had Pong and all you could do was just one thing. You know, to your point, Cap, you know, when you think about that Bengal or that Idris, it doesn't even have to be a Bengal, right? It could just be an Idris, right? Or a Polaris. Let's use an Idris. Let's use an Idris. And let's say you've got an Idris with 24 people, right? So you've got the Idris itself, right? I'm not going to even talk about like all the mechanics that are going on the Idris, right? But let's just say you've got the Idris, and then you've got players. The players are not walking around naked. They all have on assets, right? They're wearing armor or flight suits or whatever. Some of those people may have on, let's just say they have a core, and they happen to be carrying some water and food with them so that they don't have to stop anywhere, right? Or they're maybe carrying a sidearm or a multi-tool, and the multi-tool has a tractor beam asset in it, right? I mean, you could have one person carrying 15 items on them, right? And then you multiply that times 48 people who all have different things on them. Then you've got the ship that has torpedoes and crates with ammunition and all the assets there. And maybe you've also put stuff in your lockers and your inventory, and there's food and water, and then you've got all the turrets. And I mean, all this stuff is happening. all at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, right? And I think that that's the part that we get so used to. It operates, you know, it's like if it's running well, you don't think about it, right? It's only when it fails that you start thinking about stuff. So I think that it's so easy for us to not think about what all it takes to make these ships function and function well in the universe. So that it becomes a thing that you don't even notice it. You know, it's just you go do it and it does it, right? There's no pause, there's no hesitation. That's a huge technical feat to pull off. And when you start looking at a battle cruiser or a ship like this, it kind of blows your mind, you know, that they're able to pull this stuff off technically, you know.
Still a big allure to the game. You know, that's all physicalized. Everybody's running around doing their own thing.
Yeah.
It's not simulated. You can easily pull out a 1,000-meter ship and simulate all those things happening. But you know, when that engine room catches on fire and you got to go put a fire out on the power supply in the back, that's actually happening. You know, those assets are there, and you have to do something with it. You're not just faking it. And you've got ships inside of ships and ships inside of ships that have a vehicle inside of that ship.
God, I didn't think about that.
It all just
and those
works.
ships, they have stuff inside of those ships. They got elements in those ships. I mean, it's crazy when you think about that, right? It's actually pretty crazy when you think about it. We're going to just real quick before we show our last video and wrap up the show. Hope you guys are enjoying the information that we're sharing with you guys, and just some little lightweight trivia information that some of this we've talked about already. You know, the traditionally the Bengal class ships are named after big cats. I was going to do the whole history on this with CIG and going back to Wing Commander, but a lot of y'all already know that stuff. But if you don't, it doesn't make a difference. But anyway, the Bengal is the first capital ship known in the Star Citizen from the original Kickstarter. We already heard this. 7 artists were already working on this ship. The fact that the hangar is big enough that an Idris could actually be inside of it. You can't fly it in there, even though I know there's going to be somebody, Cap, that's going to it's going to try it, right? Yeah, the main turret is just a little bit smaller than the Idris, it says. The interior, he mentioned this in the video, that the interior it carries the same space of 4 to 5 Battlefield 4 maps. That lets you know how far back this was when they were talking about it, though. In internal playtesting, players got frustrated traversing the ship, so elevators and subdeck monorail were added as a solution. It runs from one side of the flight deck to the other and can be used as a transport cargo and personnel. The Bengal class is also a class from the Wing Commander. I just mentioned that. The Star Citizen version in the original patch was intended for a Wing Commander reboot. And the scale model of the Bengal built by Magnastone is displayed at the CIG office. And for those of you who've never seen that video, Forrester has a great video showing the internals of the Manchester office, and you can see the model, the scale model of the Bengal that's there. Those of you who've been there before have probably seen that as well. I think that's it. Cap, we just got this one last video, and I'm going to show this one. And most of the people here probably have seen this one. But I think this is the thing that surprised a lot of us, and it was when we were at CitizenCon. You were there. We were in Manchester. And tell people what happened when what was the feeling in the room as we were watching the space station? I mean, I think we kind of thought the space station was going to be you know what I mean? Like that, they couldn't show nothing else, right? Once they showed the space station, there's nothing else that was going to wow us, right?
Right, yeah. I mean, it just kept escalating. So we all had the hopium that one day we would have space stations, and they even alluded to the fact we would. But the way they laid it out was really good. You know, they did the whole anticipation, have you in your seats things of what's going to happen next. So they started it off planet side, and you know, the fact that we was going to be able to build bases, that was the crescendo already.
Yeah.
And they pointed up to the sky and flew you up to the station, and then they showed the stations connecting to the stations, and you think you're all done and excited, and then you could just hear everybody standing and cheering and excitement when you could see that Bengal pop into frame and see that possibly we're building those, but definitely going to be able to fly those. You could feel it in the room.
I was in denial. I was literally in denial. Togi kind of had to pull my chain a little bit on it because there was so much going on that, we were trying to take in so much that day. And I remember there was so much we were taking in watching the station. I said, you know what? I'm gonna watch this later on when we get, you know, back to the States, because there's just a lot going on here. And because you don't want to read too much into stuff with CIG sometimes, but I was really just overwhelmed. And I just remember seeing the Bengal, you know, backing away, right? But because I didn't see anybody working on it, I just figured, oh, it's just parked there. But then Toki was like, no, man, they said it. They said that, you know, they're going to be able to build a Bengal. So I went back and looked at the video again. I was like, he's right. You know, they implied it right at the very end. So let's let them watch that video. We're going to show you guys that video real quick, and then we're going to wrap things up. Whoops, is that right? I'm getting everything popping up except for what should be popping up. Yeah, let me get the video. Size of this thing. Yeah, that just ruined everybody's nerves.
Yeah, first thing people start thinking about is, are we going to be able to buy it? First thing people are talking about.
You know, yeah, I don't even know if I want to even entertain that as a question. If that would be something purchasable. I mean, considering what we saw happen with the battle cruiser, right? Yeah. $5,000, right? $5,000 to $6,000 with credit, 5,900. I mean, would this be? And listen, there were people when the battle cruiser came out that said they were willing to pay $10,000, right? Do you think this would be a $10,000 ship or a $7,500 ship?
Initially, I would have said yes, but knowing what the Odin costs now, kind of having that to scale it against, I think would be under $10,000, but I would hate to see them sell it.
Yeah, I would too. It's a great end of great end of game thing, right? For people to work toward,
right,
and build out. I mean, the amount of resources. I already try to picture what the resources for a, you know, even like a Polaris or an Idris, you know, would be already. But to build something at this scale, the amount of, you know, cooperative work, and I'm sure there'd be some orgs out there that would put a 24/7, 7-day-a-week, you know, operation to building something like this. But you know, it'd be great to see it. I'm not interested, but I'd be fascinated to see an org that actually knocked this thing out. You know, go fly past their place and see as it's coming along. You know, how it's being built out. You know, it'll be interesting. Yeah. You got any other thoughts about the Bengal? You know, since we kind of covered all this stuff, just kind of a refresher course for a lot of folks, and for some people out there, it's probably brand new. Some of this information.
I think it'd be fun to, you know, check it out once it's out. You know, somebody else has just built it, but for us owning one and trying to crew one, I really can't see it happening, even with the largest of large orgs trying to coordinate that many people to, you know, be in one place at one time. I think it's going to be hard, but, you know, it'd be fun.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to see it. I hope they bring it back, similar to the way they did with Invictus, so people can see it up close and personal soon. And be interesting to see what happens with it and any variants that I'm sure will come with it.
Now, you know what the real question is? Who owns it? You know, who has the keys to it, right? I mean, that's going to be the funny part to it, right? I mean, it's going to be an org ship, I'm sure, you know. But it'll be interesting to see we've always talked about this org tools thing. How will CIG allow authorization to certain ships and access to them? Because when you
Right.
start getting into ships like this and like the battle cruiser, I mean, it doesn't even have to be ships like that. It could even be an Idris. If you've got somebody who's
Right.
the engineer on your ship, how do you allow them to go on and prep the ship ahead of time so that when everybody shows up, it's ready to go, right? People aren't sitting around
Right.
waiting and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm
What are
curious
you
to see
doing
how
when
they
the
do that.
person with the keys ain't on? It's going to be the
hmm
question.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm hoping that those things like permissions and stuff, for those of you who played Eve, you all know that that was a huge security issue. You had to have people that you knew. Like, listen, there was a story of a guy who infiltrated an org and he waited 2 years to work himself up in the ranks to get to the upper level where they would give him permission to access the org hangar. He literally played this with these people for 2 years, and at the right moment, at late night at night when folks were sleeping, he went in and they cleaned out that entire org stuff. It was a crazy story, but I'm like, think about the patience that somebody's going to wait 2 years and get to know all your people and hang out with you and all that stuff. So I'm curious to see what they're going to set up for permissions for this game. It'd be really interesting. Okay, well, we are at the end of the show, and wow, we were able to cover this wonderful refresher for some of you guys, and for some of you, it was probably the first time you got to go this in depth on the Bengal. You probably heard it, or like you said, you saw it during Invictus when it did have it in the game. But again, this is something that CIG has once again said that it's going to be something that we're going to see probably with some frequency in some form. Just the very last click, once again, thank you all for the donations that you guys did today. You guys have exceeded expectations. I mean, just within this one day, within just an hour, you guys have pushed us already up to what, 2155 out of 2500. And you guys have, you just have no idea in light of everything that's going on in the world right now, the economies, things just costing a lot more. Normally when we're in SitCon, this would have been a 2-day thing, but CIG actually has this event as a 3-day event. And Fastcard does need assistance because of transportation with his cart. It's not as simple as him just jumping in the economy Uber. He has to have something that has to be able to load his cart. He has to be able to get in it comfortably, travel back and forth, be assisted with removing that. Whole lot of things are involved with him getting around. So you guys have made a wonderful dream. I'm speaking on his behalf. I'm sure he's going to tell you this later, but you guys have probably exceeded his expectations with helping him in this and shown a lot of love for him. And we appreciate you, and especially to the Soul team. I always believe that you got to start with the people in the core and work your way out before you ask other people. And you guys have just stepped up. I know some of you haven't had a chance to give yet, and I'm sure that you probably will. If you can't, listen, if there's anybody who can't, we completely understand. Stuff is just kind of tight everywhere. But the fact that you guys were just generous enough to be able to do that is just amazing. So thank you guys again. Special thanks to my buddy here, Captain Jones, for being here as well. Always great. He always has a very balanced perspective, and always very quiet and laid back. He doesn't get too worked up about Star Citizen, but he's a great person to have on our team. And again, thank you to everybody who's been out there today, who joined us. Next week, before I jump ahead of myself and know what we're talking about next week, we are doing a show called Why? And we're going to be talking about this thing with snubs. CIG has been on this thing with these snubs and these snub ships, and some of us have them, some of them have them by default, like if you bought like a Connie or something like that, and then some of us have chosen to buy them. Cap, during DefenseCon, some folks went out there and picked up the what was it, the Pit Bull? I kept calling it the Bulldog for some crazy reason. Did you buy a Pit Bull?
Definitely did not.
You did not.
Buying
No,
a Drake, dying a
come
Drake.
on, don't Drake. Okay.
Now, if they had me the RSI snub ship, I would have had a bunch of those.
Okay, but okay, I was gonna say, okay, all right. So, do you own any Furies?
Yeah, I think I still own one. I used to
Okay,
own
so
a
you
bunch, but
okay,
I've
so you lean
CCU'd
toward the
them
Fury
since then.
still. Okay, you use
Yeah.
them for CCUs. Okay, all right, cool. I do own a Fury, and it's only because it's the Mirai Xi'an thing. So I do have one Fury, I do have the Merlins and the P-72s, and I've got the X-55. The only thing I don't have on that screen is the Pitbull. Everything else, I've got all of the everything else that's on there. So I even have an Emerald. I bought an Emerald last year for the first time. I hemmed and hawed about whether I would get it, but because it's one of the limited, unusual ships I went on ahead, it was fairly inexpensive. I got one. But yeah, so next week we're going to be talking about these and talking about purpose and ideas and possibilities for snub ships for those of you who own them or don't have them. Some people want snubs to have quantum drive. Some people are like, nah, keep them the way they are. They're good for certain things. So we're going to talk about that next week. Okay, I think that is it. Oh, Admiral, thank you. Admiral says we have a question in the Q&A, which I didn't. I'm so used to Fast Card being here to pull that up. Let's see what we got here. We have a question from Pops in Space. Pop says, I'm just being a troublemaker on this. The Retribution class Dreadnought is the largest capital ship constructed by the UEE and multiple ship manufacturers to take part in the Vandal War. The UEE's Retribution is the only ship of this class that has been built. Any thought of it coming to the verse? Would you like that or not? If CIG does, I will solo it. LOL. CIG definitely said that it was going to be a Squadron 42 thing, Pops. And I would think that that's something they would build toward. Putting these ships in the game is not an issue if it's just an NPC thing. Like for example, like right now we've got the Javelins and the Idrises. When we had them in the game, there was no interior, right? And those ships were able to fly around and fight and battle and all that other stuff. But I would only think that you have to remember that the Retribution was brought in because of the kingship. That was the real. Those are the two things that go against each other. It will not show. It doesn't show up. It's only one. It's only one, and it's a big universe. And it doesn't mean that they won't have something happen. There could always be events, dynamic events that happen in the game, or there could be things that get built up. Like in Elite Dangerous, they had this war with the Thargoids, right? That was both dynamic and also a thing that the developers and the people at the at Frontier designed for a culmination where they had this big war. So there could always be things that CIG does to create reasons for that ship to arrive in the game. But I would think those are rare occasions. You don't want things like that to be just, they can be easily triggered, right? And so in the lore of the game, there could be some reason why, and it doesn't have to be in relation to the Vandal. There may be something else that gets introduced into the game. We just don't know, right? And a lot of lore is based upon what happened back from Vega the last 10 years. There's a lot of stuff there that the lore team would have to work in for something like that. But I know CIG said it was, if I'm remembering correctly, it will show up in the Squadron series at some point. Who knows if it's in episode 1, 2, or 3? I don't know. There may only maybe references to it, but right now we still have a lot of other ships between that ship and this one. Still, there are like 2 or 3 other ships before we even get to something the scale of a Retribution, which is just ridiculous in size. So is the Kingship for that matter. But look at it this way. That and the Kingship are almost the same size, and the Kingship is in Squadron, right? So take it for what it's worth, right? We'll see when it comes out. But it's a good question. Thanks, Pops. Appreciate that. Okay. I guess that's it. FC, do we have somebody? I think you did give me somebody here, right? Cleopex. I guess that's who that is. Cleopex. Okay. All right. We are going to set you guys up for a raid. This is someone who I don't think we've ever raided before, but Fast Card has given me called Cleopex. Oh, you know what? I just watched her the other day. I have seen her. Duh, getting old and forgetful. She is I think she's a fairly new streamer because I thought she had a very small amount of people that were following her. So we're going to send you guys over there. So send some love. I think she's a fairly new streamer, for at least a Star Citizen. Let her know that she came over from the Soul Citizens. Special thanks to Captain Jones. Once again, my friends, salute you. Thank you for being here, putting in the time, putting in the hard work. And we are going to, wait a minute. My GoFundMe thing just lit up one more time. Let me see what it says before we go. Okay, it was just a late update. 21:55. We're still there. Okay. That might have been just a late notification that popped up. It said now. I don't know why I did that. Yeah, it's still the same number. Oh, no. We are. It did go up. We're at 22:05. Thank you. So we're $295 away from our goal. So that's awesome. So we're almost there. Thank you all again. And we'll do this again maybe next week one more time just to kind of clear it up. Some more folks may give this week. So thank you all for that. But in the meantime, as we always tell you guys, every week, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and hopefully we'll see you guys next Sunday for Why. Join us for that show. Till then, peace, love, soul. We'll talk to you soon. Ciao.